Okay, Grand Rising, everyone, and welcome again to another sunny Sunday of the One Great I Am Awakening. I'm Chris Taylor, one of your hosts, my co-host and partner in mind and in spirit, Mr. Gregory Isaac Thomas, Sir T. He'll be joining us momentarily, but in the interim, we're going to get this show started. Okay, so welcome back. Thank you guys for taking the time to be here this Sunday to go through a rather interesting topic that Never God had himself used, our technique. Probably one of his first technique he used actually when he was first being taught by his teacher, Abdullah, the Ethiopian mystic. Okay, so very short video we have for you guys today, just to introduce the topic. But it's packed with a lot of nuggets to take away from this technique. So the question of today, what is the difference between thinking third dimensionally versus fourth dimensionally? What is the difference between thinking third versus fourth dimensionally? All right, so as I said, we have a video, short video to unpack in Neville's own words, what is the difference? So we're going to play the tape, the lesson, and let you guys listen to it, absorb it, take notes either physically or mentally. But we're going to come back and go into a deep dive into making it practical, applying it to our own lives, see where we have used it and how we could use it even better or more. We want to make it very practical. Okay, last week, we talked about a very practical lesson as well, and another Neville technique. We titled that one, "Let Us Remember When," or "I Remember When." What was that about? You were remembering when. An example is something that is absent right now, such as a brand new car, and you would say something like, "I remember when." I remember when my brand new car was not parked outside in front of my front door or in my garage. Neville's grandfather said, "I remember when this lot was an empty lot." So it's a very unique technique. I really love it. I remember when this lot was an empty lot. While you're looking at the lot and it's empty, you can sense that it's empty by your vision. You're captain of your five senses, your vision. You can see. You can also feel. If you cannot see, you can walk around and realize that there's nothing where you are. It's just land, space. And but the implication is that he's remembering when it was empty, which is implying that it is no longer empty, that it is filled up with, a house or a plaza of some kind, whatever the size of the land is. Some structure is now there, and you're standing there imagining that you're seeing the structure right in front of your face, and you're saying to yourself, "I remember when this structure was not here. I remember when this house was not here. I remember when this land was blank." And thinking about that, I remember when I was getting my first house built, and I would go to the lot, and it was empty. And I can go back there now in my imagination and remember when the lot was empty. And I can go back there now to that lot, that same lot, and the house is there. So I have both visions in my mind. I can see, go back to my memory, remembering when it was not there. I know it is there. So I can truly say, I remember when this house was not there. And in retrospect, I did see the lot when it was empty. I watched that house get built from the ground up. So, but that technique was very, detailed and very, very, very important to understand how to use it. So that was what we talked about last week. I remember when this particular thing was not here, as to imply that it is now here, even though your five senses tells you you are lying to yourself. It's not there. This is why we're going to talk about this other technique today in furtherance, the difference between third dimensional thinking versus fourth dimensional, to get a real understanding which of the dimension is really real and which is not, and why you can use the technique I just mentioned, I remember when, because you're using your imagination in that process. I see Sir T just joined in. Sir T, are you able to say a word before we get to the lesson?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Yeah, Sir Chris, no, go ahead to the lesson. I'm finishing up putting on some finishing touches on some paperwork here, and then I'll be able to speak.
All right, no worries.
All right, good.
Okay, great. Yes, guys, so just wanted to lay the foundation there for the lesson coming up. Again, I see Sir Devon just joined us, Kizzy. We have Charmin, we have Mark, Janice, and Sandra. Welcome, Sandra. Been a while. You've joined a very practical and important lesson that we're going to do today. So what we're doing is really doing these techniques to identify in our own selves which one, we are aligned with better, to use that word, alignment, which one works with your belief system, so to speak, which one is easier for you to use and accept. So last week we did let us remember when. This week we're talking about the difference between the third dimension versus the fourth dimension. What is the difference in thinking both ways? What is the difference? And we're gonna get into that today to finally, if you didn't understand it before, to get into the variance or the depths of the difference of the two and how they are one essentially, but they have their indifference, and we need to understand that. All right, so let's get into the lesson. Very short tape. Probably just going to play it out very all the way because it's very short, and then we're going to come back and discuss what we learned. All right, so let's jump into it. And that was Reverend Ike, my guy, Reverend Ike, talking about God has made you, talking about the Moses story. God made Moses God to Pharaoh. So I want to touch on that too during the lesson. Who is Pharaoh? What is Pharaoh? And stuff like that. So it's going to apply to this lesson we're going to talk about today. All right, so here we are. Today's lesson. What's the difference between thinking third versus fourth dimensionally? Let's go.
You know, there's a wide difference between thinking of what you want in this world and thinking from what you want. Let me tell you, when I first heard of the strange and wonderful power of the imagination, it was in 1933 in New York City. An old friend of mine taught it to me. He turned to the 14th of John, and this is what he read. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. He explained to me that this central character of the Gospels was human imagination. That mansion was not a place in some heavenly house, but simply my desire. If I would make a living representation of the state desired, and then enter that state and abide in that state, I would realize it. At the time, I wanted to make a trip to the island of Barbados in the West Indies, but I had no money. He explained to me that if I would that night, as I slept in New York City, assume that I was sleeping in my earthly father's house in Barbados, and go sound asleep in that state, that I would realize my trip. Well, I took him at his word and tried it. For 1 month, night after night, as I fell asleep, I assumed I was sleeping in my father's home in Barbados. At the end of my month, an invitation from my family came, inviting me to spend the winter in Barbados. I sailed for Barbados the early part of December of that year. From then on, I knew I had found this Savior in myself. The old man told me that it would never fail. Even after it happened, I could hardly believe that it would not have happened anyway. That's how strange this whole thing is. On reflection, it happens so naturally. You begin to feel or to tell yourself, well, it would have happened anyway. And you quickly recover from this wonderful experience of yours. It never failed me if I would give the mood, the imagined mood, sensory vividness. I could tell you unnumbered case histories to show you how it works. But in essence, it's simple. You simply know what you want. When you know what you want, you're thinking of it. That is not enough. You must now begin to think from it. Well, how could I think from it? I am sitting here, and I desire to be elsewhere. How could I, while sitting here physically, put myself in imagination at a point in space removed from this room and make that real to me? Quite easily. My imagination puts me in touch inwardly with that state. I imagine that I am actually where I desire to be. Now, can I tell that I am there? There is only one way to prove that I am there. For what a man sees when he describes his world is as he describes it relative to himself. So what the world looks like depends entirely upon where I stand when I make my observation. So if, as I describe my world, it is related to that point in space I imagine that I am occupying, then I must be there. I am not there physically, no, but I am there in my imagination. And my imagination is my real self. And where I go in imagination and make it real, there I shall go in the flesh also. When in that state I fall asleep, it is done. I have never seen it fail. So this is the simple technique on how to use your imagination to realize your every objective.
All right, there you have it. As promised, very short and to the point. Never got it talks about his teacher, spiritual leader, um, Abdullah. He was called the Ethiopian mystic. And so what that story talked about at that time never was, he caught the mood or the fever. He was saying in the actual tape that he just has this sudden urge to go back to Barbados. He had not been back there. I believe it was 12 years, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure he can correct me on that, but it was something of that nature. He hadn't, since he came to the States, he had not gone back, but he just had this sudden urge to go back. And so He went to Abdullah and said, Abdullah, I want to go to Barbados, but I don't have any money. And Barbados and Abdullah just said to him, you are in Barbados. And he didn't understand what Abdullah was saying. It sounded foreign to him, strange. He said, how am I in Barbados and I'm right here? I'm right here in New York with you. And he was like, and Abdullah, I think repeat to him again and said, you are in Barbados, and basically his final son has never got to try to continue the disagreement. Abdullah slammed the door in his face and walked away, as to say, I'm not going to continue this conversation about you saying that you're not in Barbados, you are right here. So what was that right there is in that moment, Abdullah and Neville were in two different dimensions, figuratively, two different dimensions. Even though they were in the same place and space, Neville was thinking of his current situation or the absence of. He's not in Barbados, so he's thinking third dimensionally. He's thinking that he's not. He's thinking of the absence of not being there. So he can only identify his present moment, which is where he's at in this area where he's restricted by way of distance, money, and just having any particular way to be in Barbados. In his mind, any day, anytime soon. I just want to go there, but I don't have the money. I'm far away, haven't been back in years, and I just don't see any way that I can go to Barbados. But I have the urge. So Neville was in the third dimensional thought process. So third dimension, in a nutshell, is when you're thinking of the absence of something, meaning that you don't have it, you have no possession of it. All you're doing is thinking of it. Neville was thinking of Barbados. He was not thinking of being in Barbados. He was thinking of Barbados. He was thinking of going there. Okay? So in essence, that's the difference. As you heard Neville said on the tape, to think of something is not enough. Okay? That's not enough to think of it. To think of it is just you having the desire. Now, on the other end is teacher, Abdullah. He was living in the fourth dimension. Okay? So even though he's right there with Neville, he was not there with Neville in mind. He was there only in body. But his mind was in a total separate area, invisible to Neville Goddard. And that's why he told Neville, okay, you want to go to Barbados? Well, you are in Barbados because, see, he was living in the fourth dimension. So technically, Abdullah never lived in the physical. His body does, or is, and he had a poem on his deathbed that he read to, that he said to them too, pertaining to that. But he never lived in this plane. He was always living in the fourth dimension. So he's thinking fourth dimensionally all the time. He is aware of where he is. He's aware of the third dimension. He's aware of this earth. Third dimension simply means we have three directions that we can move. We can go right, left, forward, backwards, and up and down. You understand? So that's the third dimension. One dimension is you can only go one direction. Two dimension, you can go two direction. You can go forward, backwards, right, left. That's two dimension. But the third D allows you to move up and down and so on and so forth. So we are third dimensional beings in terms of our body or where we live. This space inside your own house is 3D. You can go up, down, right, left, forward, backwards. Everywhere you live is third dimensional. But there's another part of us that does not live in the third dimension. It lives in the fourth. Okay? Though it is one with the body, though it is one with the earth, and so on and so forth, it does not come from this dimension. It's in a total and separate dimension from where we are conscious that we live. And the problem is we're not really aware of it, that's how it is. So how to explain the fourth dimension? It would be like a projector in a movie on the screen. The projector is the fourth dimension, okay? And whatever is projecting is the 3D world, the third dimension. So as I said earlier, they are one. They work together. The fourth dimension is a reflection. The third dimension is a reflection of the fourth, or the fourth dimension is projecting the third dimension. The fourth dimension is a higher dimension, but it is the exact proportion or reflection. The third is the exact proportion or reflection of the fourth, you know. It's just that this right here feels dense and solid, and it's tangible. You can hold it, you can see it, you can taste it, you can smell it. All your five senses are activated right here. But unaware to us, the higher dimension, which is invisible, and all invisible mean, when you hear me mention invisible, I'm not talking about sight that you cannot see it with your eyes. I mean that it is visible only from within. That's what invisible means. It's visible only from your imagination, from your consciousness, inward, invisible, or visible within. And that's why they would apply and say, well, I cannot see it, so it's invisible. It's not something you can see with the outer eyes. These eyes are for the third dimension, but you have an inner eye, your imagination, that sees everything just as if it was seeing everything 3D. But it's a different dimension where it's basically controlling time, because you can remember something, you can go backwards to something that passed, you can go to the future, and you can come right back here to the present and stuff like that. So it's controlling three different sector all in one: the past, the future, the present, your imagination. Okay, so the third dimension is really time. Like, you're in control. You can go forward like Never God was told to do right here. What did Abdullah tell him to do? Abdullah told him to, for 1 month, sleep in Barbados. Your body is here, but every night before you go to bed, take your mind, take your imagination, and sleep in Barbados. Sleep in your father's house. Yeah, your earthly father's house. Okay, but interestingly, the fourth dimension is your heavenly father's house. The heavenly father is your consciousness, your imagination. Okay, it's not no God in the sky. When you hear us, when we mention that, we're not talking about some omnipotent being. Where is it? I posted that scripture in the room. You guys can look at it. This is John 14, verse 2 and 3. It says, "In my father's house are many mansions." Now, for us here, we think mansion is a house. A mansion is not a house. But how we describe big, a house that's very big or huge and has many, many different compartments, we call it a mansion. But a mansion is not a house. It says, in my Father's house are many mansions. So the Father's house is your consciousness or your imagination. And within that consciousness are many mansions. Those mansions are basically your desires, you know, things that you can experience. Choose is a choice. It's like in Walmart are many products, are many different types of products, different kinds. So Walmart is the Father's house, and the products are what's in the Father's house, the desires. Okay. And he went on to say, if it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there he may be also. This verse, this chapter, this scripture never made any sense to me, coming up. Zero sense. But it leads you to think this guy is going to heaven, he's coming back for you one of these days. No, this is present tense. It says, in my Father's house are many mansions. Father's house is your consciousness. And who is speaking here? This is the imagination speaking. In my Father's house are many mansions. Okay? It's a play on words. It's your imagination telling you. If it were not so, I would have told you. I, the imagination, go to prepare a place for you. So when Neville went to Barbados, he was in America and he traveled fourth dimensionally by way of his imagination. That's the vehicle. He traveled to Barbados in his mind and standing right here in the present moment, or laying or whatever he was doing, but he traveled. And it says, and if I, the imagination, or I, consciousness, I is the ninth letter in our alphabet. 9 is the number for consciousness. And if I, consciousness, go and prepare a place for you, who is you? You is the conscious mind or the body who is desiring to experience this particular thing. Like in Never's case, he wants to go to see his parents or family, whatever. That's what he wants, he's desiring. So his consciousness went and prepared a place for him. And it says, I will come back again. I will come again. This is where people get fooled now, thinking there's some return of some Jesus or whatever. But it's talking about your imagination traveling to a place in time, meaning that you are going ahead of the time that you are now, because you control the fourth dimension, has no limitation whatsoever. This earth has to wait till it goes around the sun. It has to wait for the sun to go down. In your imagination, there's no waiting period. You're just acting like a movie. Okay? It's pretended. You're pretending right now in the present moment. It says, I will come again. So this is your imagination that went to Barbados in Neville's case, and then it came back to Neville because it's his imagination. It has to come back. Once you stop imagining, whatever you had imagined has now come back to you, your present place. And it says, and receive you unto myself, receiving you, the body, or the conscious mind that is desiring, that where I am, notice it says not where I was, but am, meaning your present, your consciousness is ever present. Wherever it goes, it is now. Okay? Whatever you're thinking about it now. Not when it happens. No, whatever you're thinking about, whether it is the past or the future or the present, everything is being done right now. So it says, that where I am, there he, talking about you, the body, the conscious mind, may be also. Okay? So what it is saying there is that if you persist in the assumption, because this is really the law of assumption that Neville is talking about here, you are assuming something that is not so to your five senses. Your five senses know that it is not so. You cannot fool the five senses at all, at all. It knows if you're here, it knows you're here, okay? You have your senses, it knows. But that's not your real self. Your real self lives in the fourth dimension, okay? So if you look at consciousness, it's two parts, even though it's one. One part of consciousness lives in the physical world, the conscious mind, and your subconscious lives in the invisible or the fourth dimensional world. But they are husband and wives. They're male and female. They're always together. They can never separate. But with consciousness, it's so dynamic. Um, your conscious mind can be here, or your body can be right here, right now, and your mind can travel fourth dimensionally anywhere in space and time that you want to go. Okay, and so when it come back, if you hold that assumption, as Neville would say, hold the assumption, eventually it will harden into fact. Eventually. But you have to hold the assumption. What are we saying here? You have to get out of the 3D world. You have to live only in the fourth dimension. You have to find a way to trick your mind that it does not live in this dimension. Because remember, the fourth dimension is really the real world. That's where everything is real. Okay? This is just a reflection. So clearly, the real world that you're really living in is the fourth dimension, not this world. And so if you live from that perspective or conception all the time, all you will do is continue to reflect what you live in the fourth dimension. Go ahead, sir T. I see you have your hand up.
Yes, sir, Chris. In explaining the third dimension, fourth dimension living, what I find for me is the difference of identity. It's who you identify yourself as being.
True.
So if you identify yourself as being the virgin that's experiencing what's going on here in the third dimension, if that's who you label yourself to be, if that's who you see yourself to be, then that's what you continue to experience. But if what you imagine, because whether we imagine intentionally or wildly, we can't help but imagine. We're always imagining. If you identify with the man of imagination, if you identify that I am truly that fourth dimensional guy that is formless, that I can form it into whatever I will, but in all naturalness, I'm formless. And if you identify with being that, if that's who you see yourself to be, then that's who you will continually go back to. So in times of trouble, you don't get frustrated, or in times of when things has not come forward the way you would appreciate it to be. When that does not happen, you don't get frustrated with it, because you know that I am truly the imaginative man, not the man of experience. The man of experience is only experiencing what the imaginative man has created.
True.
The man of experience, the physical man, the conscious mind, is only a follower. It's only a shadow. The leader is the imaginative man, the fourth dimensional mind. So the question then comes to, where do you continually resort to? Because home is, Home is not just a place where you're going. Home is a place where you return to all the time. You go all kind of places. You go to school, you go to the market, you go to your job, but where do you return to? Always return to the imaginative man with intention. Don't just imagine wildly, because like I said earlier, the imagination is always at work. It's a subconscious mind. It is the God of Israel that neither sleep nor slumber. So it's always active. Sorry about that. It's always active, but are you doing it consciously, or are you allowing it to run wild? So I'll tell you something. It's hard to keep a track of your thoughts because you're always thinking. But it's not that hard to keep a track of your emotions, your moods. Your emotions, your mood, especially as an awakened being. And I am gonna say that everyone on here has awakened to something. That's why you're here. Otherwise, you're at our church on a Sunday. So you're as an awakened being, you have to know consciously resort to that mind of imagination. And the mind of imagination is not the mind of wanting, of desiring. It is the mind of having. It is the mind of having. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Always protected. I will say of the Lord, He's my refuge and my strength. In Him will I trust. Always. When you're in that mindset, that's a place you can always run to. That's your hiding place. When everything on this side, in the natural world, in the three-dimensional world, start to go chaotic, you can always resort to that other world. It's like when you're having a bad dream. When you're having a nightmare, a bad dream, where do you resort to? You wake up, right? Go to the other world. You turn the other cheek. Sir Chris.
Certainly, that was wonderfully expounded upon. Loved it. So eloquently explained. The imagination is the real man, the real you. Always the real you, never in any moment that it is not you. It's just that we are unaware, for the most part, that's who we really are. We think we are the man in the mirror. We think when we look in the mirror and the person we see, that's who we are. It's almost like believing that the reflection is who you are in the mirror, It's the same way, because nobody believes that what they see in the mirror, that's their real self, so to speak. They know whoever is standing in front of the mirror, they are conscious of themselves. That's who really is in existence. And what they're seeing in the mirror is just a reflection. So if you look at it on the other end, between you, the body, and you, the spirit or the consciousness, you will see that one of them have to come first. One has to be first, much like nothing reflects from the mirror unless you first do something. The mirror, your reflection can never smile back at you until you smile. Then it smiles.
Sir Chris.
Yes, I did.
I love the mirror. I love the mirror comparison that you're bringing forward. Because watch it. As you say, that nobody, no adult, we should say no adult truly believe that the man in the mirror is you.
Yeah.
But a child believes it. You ever see a baby that play in a mirror? He believes it. That's him. And in reality, we have to also come to that realization that the man in the mirror is me. But on what level? That's the me that I get to control it totally. That's my puppet, the man in the mirror. And when you accept that, then you will realize that it's the same relation with the third dimension man and the fourth dimension man. The fourth dimension man
Absolutely.
is the man outside of the mirror, puppeting the man inside of the mirror. The fourth dimension man is the man outside of you, puppeting you. Now, when
the man inside the third dimension is the mirror.
Correct. So when you know that on that level, just as you confidently stand in front of a mirror and move or do whatever, knowing for a fact that the image in the mirror is compelled to react accordingly. That's the same confidence that you have to bring forward when you go into the fourth dimension, man, and act. Because that's what you're doing. You're acting, you're an actor. When you place yourself into the being of the fourth dimensional man, the imaginative man, and act, you must feel the same confidence that the third dimensional man, that's you, the body, the conscious mind, the man of experience. You have to have that same confidence that that third dimensional man must act according to what the fourth dimensional man did, quite akin to the mirror man and the man standing in front of the mirror. Just like how him have to move accordingly, you have to have the same confidence there. So we need to stand up in front of the mirror and talk to ourselves. Stand in front of the mirror and say to yourself, isn't it wonderful the way this thing just work out for you? Look at you now and smile at yourself and believe that that's you. You have to stand in front of the mirror and talk to yourself. Talk to yourself in a positive affirmative of the wish already fulfilled, fourth dimensionally. You're not talking, you're not speaking of your desire, you're speaking from it. Isn't it wonderful? So you activate it.
Come on, the mirror analogy is absolutely profound, you know, and there's probably not a better analogy to use in comparison to how we actually work in the third and fourth dimension. The only difference is, unbeknownst to us, we are not aware that there's a fourth dimensional self. We are aware that the mirror reflects our image that we cast upon it. But I love what you said, Sir T. If we could just live like that now, intentionally, just try to draw ourselves out of this 3D imagery and draw back into our true selves. It's almost like every one of us can do this right now. You can sit where you are, stand where you are, or driving, and you can observe yourself sitting down. I can observe myself as I'm here talking to you guys right now. I can sit right here, and over there in the corner, I can look back at myself and see myself talking to you guys right now. What's doing that? Who's doing that? If I can, almost like they would call it like an outer body experience. I can step outside of my body. I can go outside of my house right now and look back at my house. I can see my front door right now. I can see my car. I can see my wife's car, my daughter's car. I can see my mailbox. I can see everything. I can see my neighbors. I'm seeing everything as I'm talking to you guys right now. So who in the world is doing that? How is that even possible? I don't have a video camera out there that I'm looking at from here, but I can see it anywhere I want to be. I can go right now to where I used to live in Jamaica. I can either remember activities or I can go there presently as everything is now. Who is doing that? That is your fourth dimensional self. All right. That is the invisible man, or the visible within man. Okay. You are traveling within. You're not traveling out. Nothing is out there. Everything is inside. How do you know that? Because every time you imagine, you're seeing it from inside. It's a vision from within, a visualization. You know, you draw yourself inward and you see it as if it's projecting right in front of your face, right? And you know you are seeing it. Nobody can dispute what you see. Nobody, not even your own conscious self, ever says to yourself, that's not what I just imagined. I didn't imagine anything. You know exactly what you imagine, or imagining, or thinking. You know. You are definitely conscious of that. Okay? And so that is the fourth dimensional self that we're talking about. The one that can step outside of the physical or anywhere and just be, just experience anything. A man could be inside prison and is free, take himself outside of that space and place and time and put himself anywhere uh, he desires to be, and laugh about it, smile about it. It is so vivid that at some point it's like a dream. It becomes real. You're dreaming and you think it's real. You don't know it's a dream. Your imagination is just as powerful, just the same. You can get so deep into your imagination that you lose consciousness of where you are and fall in love with wherever you are in imagination. And you start to smile, and it's amazing. Your body starts to react. Your body, the barometer, it starts to react to where you are in mind. You ever check this out. You ever you're like hungry, you're thinking about a particular food, and your saliva, your mouth starts to get watery. You don't have the food, but just thinking about it, and or especially right as you're getting ready to eat, you know, um, your mouth is flooded with saliva because your mind is giving off that reaction that you're getting ready to eat. So your body reacts. Your body produces saliva to dissolve the food. You understand? And you don't have to make the saliva. Your body just does it automatically. You don't have to think for the saliva to come. Your body just reacts to it because you first thought about it here. You're thinking about the food. You're so hungry or whatever the case may be. You are reflecting, in the present moment, the physical, what is going on in your mind. This might explain why every time as soon as you get to the bathroom, you can hold your pee for hours. And as I reach the bathroom, you're peeing on yourself. Why is that? Because it's more vivid now. It's like you're already doing it before you're doing it. Okay. And that is where we are getting to where you're here in this conscious world, this 3D world, but we want to live in the 4D world. Why? Because if we can master living there, we can master living here. If we can make it vivid. Vivid just means it's real, it's tangible, it's you accept it, you believe it, you don't question it. That's where you're living from. This is where you're living in the now. So as we're saying, what is the difference between thinking 3D versus 4D? What is the difference between thinking third dimensionally versus fourth dimensionally? Is third dimensionally, you are thinking of something. You're thinking of a trip, you're thinking of a new job, you're thinking of an increase in pay, you're thinking of a new profession, you're thinking of going to school, you're thinking of making a certain amount of money, you're thinking of buying a particular jewelry, You're always thinking of something. That's all well and good, because all the thinking of does is identify what it is that you desire. Much like you're here, you need a tray of eggs, you're just thinking of it. Okay? But you have to go and get it, right? Or at least order it these days online and they deliver it to you, whichever way. But let's just say we're thinking about some eggs, you're thinking of it. When are you thinking from the egg? You're thinking from the egg when you go to Walmart and purchase it. That is where you're thinking from it. You now have it. As Sir T mentioned, the imagination is the mind of having. The conscious mind is the mind of wanting or desiring or praying. You're chasing after something. Okay? Um, the word prayer means to really move forward. So you're moving forward to something. We don't really want to move forward to it. We want to already have it. Okay? We want to have it. So you go to Walmart, you have the egg, and it's tangible. This is what we want to do in our mind, in our imagination. We want to travel to a particular place, space, a thing, an experience, whatever it might be, and trick our mind to the point where we're living from the experience. We're not thinking of the experience. We're not thinking of what it will be or what it might be or could be. We are actually living it. What are we saying here? See yourself already, if you have a desire to go on a trip, maybe it's a cruise, never been on a cruise, whatever the case may be. See yourself on the cruise. You're mingling with the people. You are eating food. You are dancing. You are in the pool. All these various activities that you can do on the cruise. You're doing that instead of thinking of when you get there, what you're going to do, what you would love to do, or if you'll get a chance to get there. Don't say if. Just see yourself already acting out, having the experience, like Never did with his trip to Barbados, sleeping in his father's house. He did that for 4 weeks or whatever, about a month, and then he got the letter that he's invited to a family reunion. You understand? So you're steadfast in your new concept of yourself, your new assumption of yourself. You are reliving this idea over and over in your mind. So you're only living from that dimension. You're still functioning in the third dimension. Of course, you're still doing whatever you're doing, but your mind is still fixated on that world. And if you're trying to, another thing that would tell you that you're thinking third dimensionally only or mostly is if you're trying to figure out how your desire is going to happen, or you're trying to wonder, well, based on my situation right now, based on me trying this before and failing and whatnot, if you're thinking about those things, you're thinking third dimensional. If you're living in the knowing or in the having, as Sir T say, if you're acting as if you are living fourth dimensionally, you are thinking fourth dimensionally. I mentioned to you guys before, there's a process that also helps you with that. A vision board is something that can be used that does that. It's a trick on the mind, even though it is 3D related, meaning that it's a board and you put in your pictures on it and whatnot and stuff like that. But it tricks your mind into being fixated on the things that you have on the board, and until you catch the feeling, the mood. Um, you will think that is um, these things that you paste on the vision board that is really making it happen. but it is still your consciousness. It's still your four-dimensional self, because when you're seeing these things, in a way, you place yourself there. You place yourself in the house. You place yourself in the car. You place yourself on the beach. Whatever you have on your vision board, you are living as if that is what you're experiencing, and that's why the vision board works. But it's not to be construed with that's what caused it. The cause is always going to be your consciousness. So it's just a play on your consciousness to accept that you are living that lifestyle. And it only works because you became fixated, attached, you know, um, you caught the mood, the feeling, you accepted the assumption. And as you do that, by some way or some means, things, people, events, situations, circumstances, you name it, all type of different things starts to just play out in creating what you already created. Because creation is a two is dual, you know. There's first your creation in the mind, the imagination. That's the first place to create. And then the creation actually reflects now in the outer world. So the outer world is the action, you know, or I should say reaction, actually. Okay. It is reacting to what you acted in your mind. So the outer world is the reaction. It's the second act that is now manifesting or reflecting from the first act from within your own mind. Okay. So I remember when my wife was going to buy her vehicle. She didn't do it. I did it. I went in the vehicle, sat in the vehicle, held onto the steering wheel. I recorded the vehicle on my phone, inside, outside, and I just why I sat in the car, because we were taught touch. Your sense of touch is one of your most vivid senses. You can see something and whatever, or hear and this and that, but there's nothing like touch. You know you are conscious of something when you touch it. Okay? Sometimes you see someone, you're in your sleep and you're seeing things, but or you're hallucinating. When you touch something, it's a vivid sense. And so touching, it does something to your consciousness. It sends a vibe, it sends a vibration, sensation, something to your consciousness, where if you do it often enough, and that's what I was doing. I was actively visiting the dealership, or I'd visit. I would look at people who were driving the same vehicle and stuff like that. So what I'm doing is like I'm imagining that we are in the vehicle driving and stuff like that. And everywhere I would drive, I'm imagining that I am in that vehicle already, having the experience. And would you know, it probably within a month or less, got the exact same vehicle, the same color that I looked at. Um, Ironically, the exact color. And it's not surprising to me, because I knew what I was doing. I did the same thing for the barbershop. When I was looking about the barbershop, I did the exact same things, just pretending. As we said, let us pretend. I just pretend a lot that I was already having the experience. I took pictures of my car in front of the building. I went there almost every day, looking through the window. The same things I'm doing now while I'm there is what I was doing before it was even a reality. So I was always acting the part. They call that active faith. You're faithful for something, but it helps you. It works even better when you are in the act, because your mind does not know if it's really what you're experiencing or not, because the mind is designed to accept whatever it is that you tell it. It is just how it is made up, or it is designed to accept any reality that you give to it. And this is why when you imagine that you're in a place or doing a thing, the mind accepts it. It has no power, especially your subconscious mind. It has no power to resist what you are reflecting, what you are giving off to it, whatever vibration you're giving off to it. It must accept, whether it be good or bad or indifferent. It must accept it, because this is how creation works, because creating is either you're doing something good or indifferent. It doesn't matter. To your subconscious mind, everything is good. Nothing is bad. Nothing is evil. It's the mind of, what I'm calling it, the tree of life. It's a mind of, it gives life. It just is a life-giving spirit. So it does not know anything about good or evil. Zero acknowledgement about that. Nothing is good to it. Nothing is evil. Everything just is. It is your conscious mind, based on experience or exposure, will decide if something is good or not, or based on the emotion, based on how you feel. That's the mind that decides if something is good or evil, or feels good or feels bad. But the subconscious mind has no idea what you're talking about when, if something is good or evil. Okay, zero idea. So, as we're saying here today, third dimensional thinking versus fourth dimensional. We want to, as we did the topic last week, let us remember when, or I remember when. When you're saying that to yourself, you are living fourth dimensionally, because you are looking at an empty lot, but you are seeing the empty lot now occupied. That's the fourth dimension you're in. And you're saying to yourself, your third dimensional self, I remember when this building, this lot was empty. I remember when this building was not here. I remember when this was an empty lot. So you're tricking your mind that the lot is no longer empty, even though it is, but you're living from the 4D world. So I'm hoping that is making sense to each and every one of you, that we draw this into our understanding going forward, and emphasize to, as Christ said in the scripture, I am be in the world but not of the world. What is he saying there? That you're in the world having an experience, but don't let your experiences or your five senses dictate the truth or what is facts. Your five senses will lie to you. So you have to live outside of this world. You have to be, what him say? Sorry, you probably can't say, tell me that scripture. It says something about, you guys are from this world and I am not. Because remember, Christ represents in scripture the subconscious mind, or the imagination, okay? The mind that knows all is well, okay? And so it is telling you, when he's talking about that, he's talking about the conscious mind. The Bible is all psychological. None of it is physical. So it's symbolic representations of consciousness. When they use the word man, they're talking about the conscious mind. They're talking about mind. Okay? We are just a reflection. The body is just a reflection of the conscious mind. It is the conscious mind is, as they call it, conscious. So it knows, it's the mind of knowledge. It knows that it exists. Your body knows that it exists. You're conscious of everything. You have five senses. You have five senses to make you conscious of your surroundings and whatnot. And the five senses helps you to design whatever it is that you desire or feel for. It gives you the ability to dissect, to intersect, to reject, to accept, That's what the purpose of the conscious mind is. It's the mind that destroys. It's like, all right, you're carving out a piece of wood, and you have the wood. The wood is really, in this essence, the subconscious, meaning that anything can be carved out of the wood. The wood is not anything in particular, even though it has a form, but just use your mind to see this. You have a chisel and a hammer. The chisel and the hammer is the conscious mind, so to speak, that is chipping away or destroying aspects of the wood in order to get to the design that it has in mind. So your conscious mind is always the mind that has a particular design, a particular image, concept, and so on and so forth. But you have to take away parts from something that you're designing in order to have that particular design to be functional or visible. And so you're chipping away at this piece of wood, and next thing you know, you have a nicely carved out, maybe you can say a bird or a dog or whatever they can carve out of wood, just using their imagination. Okay, but you had to destroy most of the wood in order to get to that design. But that design is not what the wood is. The wood is nothing in particular. That design came from your imagination. So your imagination reflected in the wood, or the 4D world is reflecting in the wood what was first here. But you have to use something to destroy a lot of what was in the way to get to that particular design. And so we're doing the same thing in all of our desires, is that we are constructing an idea in our mind. But what we cannot construct is how it is going to be done. So don't focus on how it is going to be done or will be done or if. Focus on it already being done. Cut out the middle, all that middle stuff, all that garb, and just go to it is done. As scripture says, that will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That right there is a dead giveaway. Let it be done on earth, 3D, as it is already done, or as it is done in heaven, which is 4D. So heaven is the fourth dimensional, fourth dimensional world. Okay? And scripture tells you plainly, let it be done on earth as it is done in heaven. So where is it done first? In heaven, in your imagination, in your consciousness, in your thought process, in your visualization. Let what you visualize materialize right here on earth as you had vividly imagined it right here in your mind. So that's what we're saying. That's what we're suggesting, to get into the act of being in the 4D world. Think from that world at all times, regardless of what your five senses are telling you, what reasoning is telling you. You have a reasoning ability for a purpose, because it's the mind of logic. You have to think, you have to realize, you have to understand. But just know that there is a greater mind within you, your subconscious, that is the part of you that creates, that gives birth. It would be like a man wanting a child and don't realize that though the child is within you as a man, you cannot give birth to it. Cannot. But there's another aspect of you your greater aspect of yourself, the woman, the feminine aspect of man, that will deliver, first create the child and deliver it. So you have to turn it over to the woman to bring forth the child that you have within you. That child that you have within you is your desire. But you cannot, there's no way you can bring it forth by yourself. Your job is to desire it consciously from the 3D's perspective, and then turn it over to the woman, who is the symbolic representation of the fourth dimension. That's why the woman in mankind is the greater of the two, the greater aspect, the greater physical representation of consciousness is in the woman. So everything is so evident, acting out right in front of our eyes, but we've been blinded by misinformation, lies, deceit, all type of different stuff to throw us off from recognizing that we are not, man and woman are not enemies. We are partners. We are one. We are one at all times, even though we seem as if we're indifferent or we're separated. That is just for this 3D experience. But in the 4D world, we are always together, always married. Okay? Always together. And the consciousness understands this particulars in creating. It is the body, our physical man, the physical mind, that does not know this, doesn't understand. And so therefore we make these things so difficult for us to do and to accept, you know. But in knowing that, looking at yourself, looking at this in the physical, your mind, your awareness, your consciousness is working exactly the same way. We just have to learn how to impregnate our our subconscious with the conscious. We have to learn how to do that and do it easily and, almost like effortlessly, effortless effort. So we're practicing to become marksmen, how to aim and shoot and hit the bullseye. Just like in the scripture with this Jesus guy, he never ever failed, not one time. Everything was done on the spot. Heal the dead, heal the sick, raise the dead, turn water into wine, walk on water, all these things. One of the first prayer was, Father, I know that you always hear me. Never do like we do. I said, boy, Father, I hope, I wish I'm coming to you again. You have to go with certainty that your subconscious mind or superconscious mind that is within you always hears you. But it is incumbent upon you or the conscious mind to believe or to accept that the thing that you desire, the thing that you can conceive in your mind, you have to accept that you already have it. It's the mind of having that is going to give it to you. Okay? Surti, are you there? Like Surti get busy. I think he's gonna work. I think Surti work at 12, so I don't know if he's getting ready for work or not. Just raise your hand when you get a chance. I know you're getting ready for work. Not sure if you got called out as yet, but you had a busy night, and hopefully not as busy a day as it was last night and everything. But this is as I said, very practical exercise of thinking just using your mind. It's nothing that we have not done. We've done a lot of thinking. We just think incorrectly. And we're learning how to think the right way, you know, learn how to think the right way, how to accept that what we think is already a fact. What we are desiring is already a fact. What we intend to do or to become is already a fact. You know, nothing is going to happen or may happen or will happen. We have to see everything as already have happened. You know, everything has to be in the past tense. As we assert this faith, feeling as if this happened, past tense. You know, that is what faith really is is going ahead of the actual result. That's what faith is going ahead of time. Faith puts you in the no, I have it right now, rather than I will have it, or I hope I have it, or I'm going to see if I'm going to have it. Faith is something that bypasses all of that and already have the assumption that everything that you desire is already in your possession. You know, that's what faith really is. But again, we have a lot of programs and wrong thinking that has imprisoned our minds into believing the restrictions, the lack of money, time, opportunity. Like we were listening to Reverend Ike earlier, and he mentioned that in the scripture, in wherever it was, I think it was Exodus, probably Exodus, it got to be Exodus, because he was talking about Moses and Pharaoh. So we can also use this to align with our topic for today. When Moses went to Egypt and he was talking to Pharaoh, and he said that God telling Moses that I have made you God to Pharaoh. Okay, so who is Pharaoh? Pharaoh is your third dimensional thinking. You know, that's another aspect of it. Pharaoh is your conscious mind. Okay, it's the mind of 3D. The mind of everything has to be what you can see, taste, hear, taste, smell, and touch. It has to be something that you know. The mind of 3D doesn't really accept the imaginative faculty or visualization, or you already have a particular thing. It doesn't accept that because it is constructed to function in the right now aspect of things. Okay, so in essence, you have a dual mind. You have one mind that is about what I can feel, hear, taste, smell, and touch, and the other mind is there is no limitations. Everything is right now. Whatever I don't have or see, um, hear, taste, smell, and touch, whatever it is that I cannot, the conscious mind doesn't have right now, your other mind, the subconscious, your helper, will bring that forth, will manifest that for you. We just have to learn how to work together with them, So you are God over Pharaoh. You are the subconscious mind is God to the subconscious. I mean, to the subconscious mind is God to the conscious mind. Okay, because in the conscious mind, it has limitations. It has belief issues. Your subconscious has none of those issues. The subconscious mind does not believe. It knows. It just, everything is. Okay? It doesn't question anything. If you say, I'm going to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor. And you continue saying that or feeling that, expressing that, your subconscious mind will accept it. If you say, being a doctor is too hard, I'm not going to be able to pass the exams, this and that and the third, your subconscious mind will also accept that. Your subconscious mind is like water. It doesn't restrict itself from going into anything. It will never say, don't throw me into that pot of hot water. I mean, that hot pot, or put me in the refrigerator. It will never tell you that. It accepts any conditions that you put it into. And what does water do with any condition? It just becomes a condition. You put it on the fire, it boils, or at least steams. You put it in the refrigerator, it becomes cold or it becomes ice. Um, you you let it stay on the fire too long, it evaporates. It becomes vapor, gas, and disappears. Okay? Whatever condition you put your consciousness in, particularly your subconscious mind, it becomes that particular thing. So don't put the water in the refrigerator if you want to make tea. If you desire to have a hot cup of tea, the refrigerator is not going to do it. The water is only going to accept the conditions of the refrigerator, and you are not going to be happy because you want something hot. And vice versa, if you want to drink something cold, don't put the water on the stove. It cannot become cold when it's subjecting itself to heat. You understand? Wherever you want it to be, wherever you want to be in mind, I mean in the physical, you have to go there in mind. Okay? Wherever you want to be in the physical, you have to first go there in mind. Okay? So using these analogies hopefully can help you understand how your consciousness really works. I think Sir Marlon used that refrigerator analogy some time ago, and I'm telling you, it was very brilliant because the water and the ice, or the ice water, whatever, is if you want the water, I think his analogy was, if you want the ice to be frozen, you can't leave it outside the fridge. You have to put it inside the fridge. I mean, inside the freezer. You know, you want ice, put it in the freezer. Leaving it outside is not going to become ice. You want to experience a certain thing, put yourself there. You are not going to experience it until your mind, by way of the imagination, occupies that state. Okay? It's like you want to be in Georgia. Well, the only way to occupy Georgia is to drive there. It's the only way to occupy Georgia is to drive there. So it's the same thing with your consciousness. You want to occupy a state, you have to go there, occupy the state, and then in some way or shape or form, events, circumstances, situations, people, all these different things will formulate to create the experience that you first formulated within your own mind. Okay? So we are God to Pharaoh. We are God to our issues, our circumstances. So, Reverend Ike mentioned that it doesn't matter who the president is. It shouldn't matter if it's Trump or Biden or George Bush or Obama or any other presidents, former or in the future. None of that matters. Your consciousness is your guide. Your consciousness is your provider. Not any man, any physical man that is acting a part of some kind of authority. The only authority that ever is and ever was is your consciousness. Okay? That is your president. That is what presides over all your endeavors or obligations, you know? And so, yes, you have to live in this world, but you don't have to be of this world. You don't have to experience anything that is so-called um, told or is prophesied or is expected to come. That's all well and good. You live in your own world, and that's the world that you will project. People will walk around wondering, how is it that you're still prospering when everyone else is having the toughest times of their lives? It's because you're in the world, but you're not of the world. You're living in a completely different dimension. You're just like Abdullah. Anytime anyone comes to you about something that is negative, difficult, or indifferent or whatever, you just speak life into the situation. You speak the opposite because you are a life-giving spirit. That is your true essence. You're a life-giving spirit. So, but again, you can give life to something good or something evil because to the spirit, everything is good. Everything it just is. There's nothing that is negative or bad or whatever. It is all good with the spirit, with your life-giving spirit. Okay, it's like I said with the water. It doesn't care what you subject it to. It's going to accept that. You know, it's going to accept it as is because you're subjected to that state. So just be aware of your consciousness that it is subjected to whatever you put it to, whatever you align it with. It must become that thing. So do it wisely. That being the case, do it wisely at all times. So today's lesson is basically we're just living in the end of our desire. We're living from our desire. We're already having the experience. I did that with several things, just acting as if. So that's really another way to just do it. Act as if, act the part. Be like a child. Unless you become a child, you can never enter into the kingdom of heaven. What does a child do? A child is always imagining, talking to their imaginative friend, and nobody thinks anything funny of it. It's always talking to his imaginative friend. How nice, how sweet. Nobody ever laughs at that. They just think it's cute. And so, as a grown individual, man or woman, you're still a child at heart. You've heard that all the time. Still a child at heart, because nobody can stop you from imagining, and nobody can stop you from talking to yourself, thinking to yourself. We talk to ourselves all day, every day. We just that we don't verbalize it, and nobody calls us crazy. But if we were to ever verbalize the things that come to our mind, people would think that we are crazy. Okay, so go back to your childlike state, because a child truly accepts everything that they imagine. Nothing to them is impossible. That's why you tell them no right now. You're gonna have to tell them no 100 more times because they will not accept it. They think it's possible, even when you don't. and we are a grown up. To the child, all things are possible. And it's true. All things are possible to him who believes. All right. So just remember we are God over Pharaoh. Pharaoh is our conscious mind, your subconscious mind, your superconscious mind is God over that. Okay. It's just there to help you design your desire, but don't let it be the way your desire is going to come. Okay? Your Moses, which means to draw out, is the part of you that's going to draw out the way to get to the promised land. Okay? The story is all about getting to the promised land. The promised land is whatever your desire is, whatever you want to experience. That's where your conscious mind struggles, but the subconscious mind does not. It's always living in the end. So we have to get out of our conscious mind that lives right here and worry about all the present stuff or the future stuff. We have to live where the subconscious mind lives, in the fourth dimension. You know, live there. Think fourth dimensionally at all times. Can't preface it enough to think fourth dimensionally at all times, because as we do it, it becomes a habit. And that's why we think with our think third dimensionally all the time, or with the conscious mind all the time, because we've been more conscious of the conscious mind than the subconscious mind most of our lives. And so we have created these programs, these habits that has become normalized or natural. And so when we're doing something different, it feels unnatural. You feel like you're telling yourself a lie. It's like if you're right-handed and you're trying to use your left hand to do the same thing, it's going to feel weird. You understand? Because you were more dominant with the right hand. Or vice versa, if you're left-handed, if you try to use your right hand, it's going to feel weird. We want to get to where it's ambidextrous, where it doesn't matter which mind you're using. In this case, everything is natural. So people who are ambidextrous, it doesn't matter which hand they use. It's normal to them. And we want to do the same thing with our mind. You know, we want to know that we can live in the present with our conscious mind and experience right now. And when we desire to experience something different, we go into our subconscious and live from there. Live from the end. The end is where you begin. The end is your beginning. I see Sir Marlon just jump in. Sir Marlon, what you say? We are discussing today um, thinking the difference between thinking third dimensionally or fourth dimensionally and thing. So we're coming to the end of the program. But did you have anything you wanted to add? I know you like to talk about your guy Wayne Dyer, you know?
Um, yeah, man. Blessed love to you and each and everyone here. Yeah, man. No, actually, I don't have anything to add today. Sorry, I'm coming so late though, but I'll listen back on the
Yeah,
when
man.
you repost the recording and stuff.
All right, brother. No worries, no worries. But thanks for joining in anyways and
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah,
showing
man.
your face,
I'm
so to
trying to come in
speak.
earlier next week.
Yeah, but just as
Yeah,
you come in, just want to touch on Wayne Dyer. One of his most famous saying is that when you change the way you look at a thing,
thing you look at change.
the thing you look at changes. So you can apply that to this concept of third dimensional thinking versus fourth dimensional. What is he saying there? Well, in our 3D thinking, we have a particular thing or experience. We can say, boy, you know, uh, the economy right now is slowing down and people are getting fired, laid off, this and that and the third. So, you're looking at the thing as it is. And that's how it is. You're not lying to yourself. That's really what's happening. But if you change the way you look at it, if you change the way you look at a thing, what is he saying? Go to the fourth dimension and look at it from a fourth dimensional perspective, where in the fourth dimensional perspective, nothing is solid, nothing is rigid, nothing is hardened into facts. It is pliable. It's like water without form. It has no particular form. It can become water. It can become ice, solid. It can become vapor. It can become hot, cold. it missed all these different things that you can proportion it into. And so it is not fixed in that dimension as it is fixed here, you know. So you can actually go there now and look at the economy as it is and only see it as prosperous. Deny what your five senses are telling you rather than having your five senses deny you. You deny your five senses. Don't let them deny your fourth dimensional self or thinking. Okay? You tell your five senses they're liars. They're the five foolish virgin. Your subconscious or the fourth dimensional self is the five wise virgin. Okay? You can activate your five senses fourth dimensionally, where they see, hear, smell, taste, and touch how you desire it to be, despite what your five senses presently are telling you. And when you look at it that way, consistently, persistently, and persevere in that state, it is then the world will conform to match that state of mind, that state of being. That's what he meant when he said the thing when you change the way you look at things or a thing, whichever one, the thing that you look at changes. You know, it's like you're going in front of the mirror. The mirror must match. You were naked, and now you put on clothes. The mirror cannot go back to you being naked. That was your former self. You know, the nakedness here is a former. You have to see what's going on now as the former. I remember when the market was slow. That's what you have to say. I remember when Trump was president. You know, you have to put everything in the past, even though you live in it presently. But your mind can conform because it's like water. Remember, it turns into it subject itself to whatever you attach it to or subject it to. So you tell yourself, "I remember when. I remember when." You're changing the way you're looking at the thing. You're changing your third dimensional perspective or look into fourth dimensional perspective. Okay, you're putting on a different lens. You know, or them have a camera that have multiple lens. Some can see near, some can see far. You have to get the lens that can see far. It can see both near and far. You're using the short lens, trying to see way over there. And when you do it, you tell yourself, that's not possible. That's not going to give me a nice pic. I'm not going to get a great picture from that. When you have the longer lens, the greater of the two or of the many, and that lens can go far, 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 miles. You understand? And give you a great picture. So it's the same thing you have to do in changing how you look at things. You have to go within. It has to be an inward motion or emotion. You know, your emotion is energy in motion. And like someone like to say, wherever attention goes, energy flows. You know, whatever you attend to all the time, your energy or your energy in motion, your emotion, must flow there. And when it becomes consistent, it becomes a vibration. When it becomes a vibration, it then becomes an outward action, like an experience. You know, it becomes something that is manifested, tangible. So how the market is right now, or whatever it is in your life right now, change the way you look at it. Change the lens. Look at it in a different lens, with a different lens, and stick to that new look, that new vision. Persist in it, persevere in it. Persevere just means things are going to still deny you. You're going to have issues. You're going to have things that contrast. your new perspective. You will see evidence that what you're telling yourself is happening in your world, that's not happening. You will see it. So you have to persevere. You have to put on your blinders and blot that out and don't accept that nonetheless. You know, in the parable book, as I certainly like to call it, with Jesus carrying the cross, he never stopped, even with all the beating and the spitting and everything else, and carried the cross all the way until he died on the cross. That just simply means you remember Jesus is your savior, is your salvation. Your imagination is your salvation. Okay? You have to bear whatever things or circumstances are going to disrupt your flow of imagination. Those things are your cross that you're carrying, but you're gonna have to continue the journey, okay, until you attach the Savior, okay, to yourself, which is now your salvation. Whatever it is that you desire, it will um, it will bring into your existence, into your world. You know, so you're gonna have issues. You're gonna have things that deny you. You just have to continue, nonetheless. Okay, you cannot stop or question. It's normal. It's human, as I would say, to do that. But just understand this is part of the process. These things are going to happen. They must happen. It's just a process. There's no way around it. You can't get to the diamond without digging through the dirt. The dirt is what's restricting you, but you have to go through it. The diamond is there. You understand? It's the same thing with your desires. Things are going to come to deny you, to show you that it's not possible, but you have to persevere. Don't stop at 3 feet. Um, in that story with this guy digging for gold. Okay, go 3 more feet, and you'll get to the goal. Don't stop because something impeded your progress. All right. So that said, look like Certi got busy with work and stuff. So we're going to end it here. I hope you guys enjoyed today's lesson. With it's now 12 o'clock, I believe, right on time. Wonderful lesson. We're going to post this in the room shortly. Last week, the thing never turned off on time. I thought it did, and I never get to post until late up into the night. But today would be an earlier one, um, so you guys can go back and listen to this tape, but or this lesson. But it was a wonderful lesson again. Today's lesson, the difference between thinking third dimensionally versus fourth dimensionally. What are the difference? 3D is thinking of something or the absence of something. Fourth dimensionally is already having it, is thinking from it, thinking from having the experience. That is really the difference. And we have to learn how to block out the present, current, our conscious situation that we're having now, and go into travel in our mind, in our imagination, to the state that gives us what we desire, and just live in that state, live in that house of awareness, okay, until our desire manifests. All right, guys. So love you guys. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. This was today's lesson, and we'll be back again next week in furtherance with another never guided technique to further help us in living our best lives by manifesting all of our desires. Love you guys. See you next week. Happy Sunday. Over and out.